Next is Ian Sharp, who runs or is involved in a number of organisations. Firstly, he's head of the Digital Health Enterprise Zone. Also, he runs Digital Catapult Yorkshire, and he's head of the innovation. He's part of the innovation board for the local enterprise partnership. So Ian's got lots of experience in lots of areas, and the organisation, there's a fair amount to support tech organisations and health organisations looking to break into the main sphere throughout Yorkshire, not just Bradford. And one of the things that Ian's keen to push, and I'm not going to take all his limelight, is getting more Bradford businesses involved and taking advantage of this great initiative. I'm not going to come back on again, but for those of you that have been here before when we've done events, once Ian's finished, we'll then move upstairs to the brew house, where Paul's going to give us a sample of some of the great food that they do as well. So, good night from me, and I'd now like to introduce Ian Sharp.
What a great intro. I've never had such a good intro, thank you, Shabazz. So in case you've not guessed already, I'm called Ian Sharp. I run Digital Health Enterprise Zone, which usually gets people saying, what is digital health? And I'll elaborate on that. And then I also run Digital Catapult Centre Yorkshire, which is part of a national network. So I've got a short presentation. Sorry about the slides, but they are necessary. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the HEZ, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the companies that we support. And unusually, I've got a couple of short videos at the end, which will introduce one of the companies and give you a better idea of what they do. Bizarrely, or quite out of the blues, we've actually got their founder in the building, so you'll be able to see who that is and ask him questions, interrogate him about the kinds of support that he's had later on. Then I've got a little bit about the types of events that we run and how we select businesses and how we address challenges. And then finally, something that's really fun that we ran with one of Bradford's clinical commissioning groups. Don't worry about what that means just yet. So I think pretty well publicised that actually the population is ageing, and that we've been really successful over the last sort of 100 years in improving people's lifespan. The downside to that is we've got a lot of people living with really long-term health conditions, really serious conditions, and some of that is around the lifestyle choices they've made, which have exacerbated those illnesses, but actually some of it's about equality as well, or inequality I should say. So social deprivation is a major issue, and when you couple that, all of that scene with the state that we're in, with the shrinking public finances, it's putting extreme pressure on both local authorities and all the NHS organisations. So that's background really. So the University of Bradford, Bradford Council and BT got together, created a consortium, which is Digital Health Enterprise Zone. So they all invested in it. We got some money from the Department for Business Innovation and Skills as well, which is one of the government departments, and eventually created this large organisation, which includes academia, and there's a new building being refurbished on campus, which is going to lead research into digital health. And Bradford University already does a lot of that. It's pulling together different faculties. And then my bit, which is the outreach piece. So my building's over in Little Germany. For those of you that know it, it's the old design exchange. Now we call it the digital exchange, and we've refurbished it. And it's got about 86 co-creation seats, which are open office desks that people can come in as they start up. They can collaborate on projects there, and ultimately grow on, hopefully, to take in office space. And we've already had a couple of companies do that, so that idea is going to plan. Now, you might think that to be able to do this and to innovate in the healthcare space and in the digital space, you'd need key expertise around health, but actually that's not my background at all. My background is engineering, product design, and international business. So I've brought those skills to the Digital Health Enterprise Zone and the Digital Catapult to allow us to sort of understand where the technical challenges are, and then bring businesses in to work on those challenges, to help clinicians work up what those challenges look like from their perspective, so that we can explain them, pull projects together, bring academics in and funders, and really get that economic engine running in Bradford, because it's missing. It's a key thing that's been missing for a long time. So we're quite new. We opened the building in April last year, and already we've got 5 tenants in there. We've got a whole host of other companies that we support, and we've been working with hospital trusts and clinical commissioning groups, health and social care, and Bradford Council have been extremely supportive, I have to say. But the key thing here is we still want to march on the rest of the region, so we're doing something really interesting in Bradford that aligns with what the larger Leeds City region wants to do from an economic development piece, but actually it's all based here in Bradford, and so we're pulling in companies nationally. And in fact, the company that I'll talk about in a little while, called Connectis, is actually based in London, founded in London, but because of the support we've got and the network that we've got, their trials are being run here in Bradford, sponsored by Bradford Council, making a real impact on social care lives in Bradford. As a result of that, they're now starting to employ people in Bradford. Technical skills in Bradford. It's great, actually, so it's really starting to work. The big problem in the health and social care space has been a general lack of innovation over the years. So there's been a very slow take-up of digital services, and I'm sure everybody in the room's got a smartphone in their pocket. Is that not true? So those have only been around 9 years, but actually the health service generally don't use apps and things. They're not adopting them, and they've got a real barrier to being able to being able to integrate them into their systems and services. There's also the legislative issues. So that's a major problem in its own right. But if you want to turn how the health service works into something that's fit for purpose for all the patients, that's all of us, you've really got to make it patient-centred care, and you've got to enable people and educate people to be able to prescribe their own, not medication, but their own treatments in a way. So there's a large agenda around enabling people to do that. And that's really interesting because it starts to ask the patient much more about them, and it takes the health service away from this sort of parent-child relationship that's been prevalent all the time the NHS has been in existence. And as that starts to happen, what you're actually doing is stimulating the market to pull on the services that are needed and pull on the services that us, the population, the citizens, want. So it's about driving that new technology update. So the kinds of things that we're talking about are wearables, data analytics, mobile apps, and we're starting to do projects across the region on all of these things and bring trials with patients and gather real data on the impacts of them to bear, and that's important because that data then allows us to scale it across the country. Bradford's got some key challenges, by the way. So I'm sure you've heard in other places that there's 82 languages spoken across Bradford. That's a challenge in its own right, but if you think about digital technologies, then you have to translate all those technologies to cope with all those languages to include everyone. There's a massive issue. Also, there are cultural differences. So some things that one social group finds acceptable is not acceptable to another social group. So when you're developing these technologies, it's really key to bring those groups in and co-create solutions with them. So it's a much more inclusive process. And also Bradford's got a history of being quite a leader in using telehealth services. So remote services where people can stay at home and actually consult their doctor and clinician in hospital when they need them and be monitored and measured how they're progressing with their illness. As I said, I run the Digital Catapult Centre as well, and we've got more strands than just digital health. So I'm going to touch on those, and I'm going to talk about one that we're running right now. So digital health is a key one, but we've also got advanced digital manufacturing. And one of the key strengths in this area, as some of you will know, is the diversity of manufacturers that we've got. There's a real strength there. And also the creative and digital sector, and that's a key theme as well. If they're core themes, then we've got technology strands that run along those, around utilising immersive technologies. So that's things like augmented reality and virtual reality, which you may have seen from a gaming perspective. Actually, last week I was talking to a company that does knee replacement operations, and they were using virtual reality to help guide the surgeons so that the accuracy of the knee replacement can be done so that the knee lasts longer, because obviously it's a 3D sort of problem, and so getting all the alignment done is really interesting. So what they do is they put a head-up display on goggles for the surgeon, and the surgeon is drilling away bone. I know it's a little bit nasty, but and the drill, if it goes outside of the boundary that the surgeon's supposed to be working on, the drill cuts off so they can't damage the bone. And actually it tells you how deep they've got to cut as well, so how much they've got to burr away. And all that is relayed back onto the goggles, so they've got a much better system than doing it by eye, which is what they used to do. That's the kind of digital health innovation that we want to be involved in. Then we've got the connected economy, and there's a lot of research going on around 5G systems. So you'll all be familiar with 4G systems, so fast internet on your phone. 5G is much more bandwidth than that, and also a lot of connected sensors to make that you can make use of to live your lives better. So if you've got things like a respiratory illness, you might want to know when the environment's bad outside and whether you need to take your inhaler or not. And that's now possible. So we can put air quality sensors all across Bradford, and we've put an experimental network in to be able to pick up that and feed information back to those who need it. So it's really interesting. What that kind of thing does is allows us to pull down then lots of national grant money for these technology companies to be able to use and develop new technologies within Bradford that can be then sold either elsewhere in the country, and more crucially exported, which is a key thing to do, massively important for the British economy. When Digital Catapult started, its real theme was about being data-driven. And data-driven, there's lots of companies generating lots of data out there, and routinely that's not used. So part of the theme here is to actually enable companies to use that, and to pull that data out and give them better insights about their business, about their supply chain, and about how they can perform better in the environment that they're in. So I said we run a number of technology challenges, and one that's really a hot topic for every business is cybersecurity. It comes in under the Digital Catapult themes, and they have a Cyber 101 which they've received several £1 million to help support businesses across the UK. So we're part of that. We're delivering on some of those events and some of that education. We're also doing something locally with academics from Huddersfield University, Leeds, Beckett and Bradford around technologies for local businesses. So this is toolkits that local businesses can access to improve their cybersecurity awareness and reduce the likelihood of them getting an attack, a malware attack, or being attacked by a phishing scam. Hope you've heard some of these terms. Have you heard of ransomware as well? So that's pretty big at the minute. So ransomware basically comes as an attachment usually on an email. You click on it, and unfortunately it encrypts your entire hard drive and says you must pay several £1,000s to someone in the Ukraine or Russia. So usually what happens is there's no other way to encrypt it, so you pay the guy to encrypt your hard drive, but they've got you. It's a shocking business, it's horrible, and companies that fall foul of it have really got two choices. They can either lose their data or pay the money. There's no other way around it. So the cybersecurity project is about helping companies to identify that, put mechanisms in place that stop them being attacked or reduce the likelihood of them losing data as a result of an attack. And this, it's not just companies, okay? So I was with Calderdale Council a few weeks ago, and their head of IT said they'd had a ransomware attack. Within a couple of hours, the ransomware had infected 120 computers on their network. They shut the network down, and within 6 hours, they'd reformatted the machines, recovered the data that they got backed up, and they were up and running again. But they could only do that because they got the process in place. And that's really key. That's a good example of good practice. So that's what we want to get over in these kinds of workshops and events. And it's to help businesses just be more competitive and be less at risk of losing their data and being uncompetitive. So I would encourage you to get involved. I would encourage you to pass on the opportunities to other people. All our social media details were on the front slides, and I'm sure you can get them after the event as well. And they're on some of my contact details on the website. So thanks for that. So I'll leave it there, not bore you any longer. Would anyone like to ask any questions?
Yes. Bill Gates.
There's no bands playing in our building.
No, I was just saying,
Oh, okay.
sorry. A fantastic question. Yes, Bill Gates, in his book, Business at the Speed of Thought, there's a chapter called No Healthcare System is an Island. And it seemed like we completely failed to somebody in government led that and went for the National Programme for IT, but it completely failed. Are you picking up where that failed?
Not really, we're taking an entirely different approach. So you're probably aware that a lot of the public sector, and NHS especially, used to procure very large IT projects.
Yeah.
And actually procuring a large IT project is almost doomed to failure from the outset because you can't define exactly what it is you want to do. You've got to do that by experimentation and trial and test and see what the feedback is. And that's the approach we're taking. So we're trying to do it in a very piecemeal process and manner, whilst getting everyone to talk to one another. So all the different systems to talk to one another. Does that answer your question?
That does answer it, yes. I mean, that's where they went from in the first place in 2002. Just a follow-up question was this. You talking about the ageing population, actually getting the ageing population to be IT literate or fail to use technology, is that proving to be a problem?
So it's often framed as a problem for lack of inclusion. So people say, oh, well, the older generations aren't IT literate. Actually, that's not true. As a universal thing, that's not true. Just like any piece of the population, there are those who are enabled and familiar with IT, and those who aren't. You can never get away from that, and unfortunately, the world is moving to an IT sort of centric place. Even in 16 to 25-year-olds, there's about 3% of people that aren't familiar with using computers and smartphones. So you can never get away from that. But some of the work we've done recently suggests that IT usage, and specifically tablet and smartphone usage, is far higher than you expect. So of the order of sort of 60%, up to sort of the late 70s. So people are generally adopting technology right across the age ranges.
In terms of DES and Digital Catapult, they're two very different organisations. Digital Catapult will support anybody generally in the tech and digital arena. With DES, one of the things that we spoke about previously when we met was it was an opportunity for businesses that could potentially provide services to the medical sector. So it's not just businesses that are involved in medical technologies, it's general supply. So organisations in Bradford that the supplies of sorts that could potentially supply to the medical industries, it's open to them as well.
Indeed it is, and if you think about a hospital, so a hospital is a big business, and it has big business issues. It has accounting, it has logistics, it has car parking issues, which I'm sure we've all stumbled against at some point or other. It has an ambulance service to run and it supplies us with a feedstock of patients. That's horrible terminology, isn't it? But that's what the facts, what it does. It has a laundry service. It has a pharmacy supply. All these things actually have subsystems within them, and any big business, as you'll know, relies on how you can structure all of that. So there's opportunities, not just in digital health, but in all the support industries that go on. Okay. Anyone else? Great. In that case, have a great evening. Shiraz, thank you very much for the invite. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to talk to me later, that's great. I'd love to talk to you. If not, thank you very much.